Hi, Lorenzo. I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to have you here with
Thank
us in
you.
London. Congratulations on this incredible film. I just loved every minute of it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Take us back then. Obviously, you've been shepherding all these Transformers movies over the years. When was the idea of doing this origin story first floated? And I guess making the shift from what we've seen with the live action films back into animation, I think first time since 1986.
Well, what's interesting is each time we made one of the live actions, we would re-look at all the mythology and all the lore and go, "Oh, what should we do?" And literally around the time the second movie we were debating what that was going to be, we ran into this story. And we were like, wow, that's really tremendous. Can you make that live action? And it was like, maybe not. And so we kept making movies. But every time we debated a movie, this story would come up. At the time, the companies were nervous about changing what had been successful. You know, live action was successful. Why screw it up? Or potentially screw it up, right? And finally, we won out because we always knew this was such cinematic material.
Toy Story 4, one of the most amazing animated films, I think, very well deserved with its Academy Award. So I guess Josh maybe seems like an obvious choice. How did that collaboration come about?
Obviously, we were fans of Toy Story 4. What happened was I'd seen the movie. We were looking for a director. We met with a few people, but when Josh came in, he so fundamentally immediately understood. The first thing he said was, "There's no humans in this story." And I'm like, "Yeah, isn't it great?" He goes, "Oh, it's so fantastic. We get to do the robot point of view." And I knew right then he had an insight into what this needed to be. And then we talked a little bit. He has a personal story that with his brother that is not as grim as Optimus and Megatron, but it is sort of two different worlds these guys have ended up in. And so he had a perspective on that, which is, I think, that was the most important thing to get right.
And I guess the fact of going back in time, looking at their younger selves of Optimus and Megatron, and the fact that they are, not just in this role of protecting humanity, we do get to see them in a more
Yeah.
a humanized way, their personal hopes and
Yeah.
dreams. There's so much laugh out loud, moments, so much humor as well as heart. Was that something that was really exciting to explore?
Yeah, that was essential from the beginning, as we felt like this could be a very dark story. In terms of how this friendship ends up. But the important part was to find the humanity in both. I mean, not having humans, we were able to take all the human emotion we would normally put in the humans and put it into the robots. So that gave us, I think, obviously more depth for the robots, more rounding in the characters. It's actually going to cause a change in the live action now because we can't go back. We have to now try to match this level of understanding of who these robots are. And that was really exciting because along the way, somebody who's lived with Transformers for a long time, I see Megatron and Optimus in a different way after seeing this movie. I understand them in a different way, and I think that's really exciting for those people who grew up with it. They're seeing them for the first time in a way. And for those people who are seeing it for the first time, they're going to have an understanding of those characters completely different than everybody who has gone before them.
And the voice cast, I mean, I don't know if you already had names floating around from the minute, you're working on the project, but it seems like, the perfect cast now, in retrospect probably.
Yes.
And Scarlett Johansson, Chris Hemsworth, how did you land on all these different people and what was it like working with them?
When you have that level of talent, it brings it out in the movie. And there's no question that there's a difference between the written word and the performed word. And they brought so much to the performances. Optimus was the trickiest because Peter Cullen is such a legendary voice. But Orion Pax is a young man. So Peter's voice is very battle-scarred and he's seen it. So we needed somebody like Chris, had youth in his voice, the exuberance of youth, the naivete of youth, and then also had the lower octaves that later on you can imagine becomes that. And with Alita, for instance, we've always wanted a really great female character and haven't succeeded at it. And finally we did. And, and I think, she is so responsible for that. Not many actors could pull off a line of, "I'm smarter than you," and not seem like a jerk. And that, to me, that line, it was always in the script, and I was always curious to see what was going to happen because that can come across very arrogant. It can come, she just says it's so matter of fact, and you're like, okay, maybe she is, but it doesn't matter. And Brian Tyree, I mean, we were just so blessed, and our construct of Bumblebee was, since he's talking, let's have him just nonstop talk, right? Because those of us who have seen the live action movies and seen they can't talk and do it through music, so I can't think of anybody you want to hear more than Keegan, just go off every time. And we would sometimes just in the recording sessions just let him run, 7 or 8 minutes. He would just literally go, and everything funnier than the next.
And in terms of, the takeaways, the experience, I mean, there's something about, this animated world, this universe, which is so immersive. So it's something kind of escapist about that. But I love the fact that it can appeal to, everyone from, I can't wait to take my son who's just turned 4. Yeah, I was getting so much out of it as well. Is that
That's
also
great.
something that's the appeal of these stories?
That was certainly the hope that we could pull that off. There are some adult themes here that the kids aren't exactly going to understand. I think democracy versus authoritarianism, as an adult, you're going to get that. They'll see it sort of like that guy's a bully and that one isn't, right? So they'll see it different ways. No, that is the wonder when you get it right. I heard somebody the other day call it Stand By Me in Space. And I was like, well, I could sort of see that, No, it was a goal of ours to be as broad an audience as we could be. Not because, that means more people can come to the box office, but it just felt like a story that naturally should fit more than kid movie, adult movie. It just feels like it's got something else going on there that I have 3 children, and there's nothing better when you go to a film that you can enjoy and they can enjoy.
Yeah, and I think it's something a bit like with Toy Story, the stakes are actually high, and it's not that you're patronizing children, there is tragedy, and in fact, this friendship breaks apart.
Yeah.
But you're also learning something about the world,
Yes.
and it's not something that's too shocking or too heavy-handed. So
No,
it's maybe
and if you're an
treading that
adult,
line.
you've probably lost a relationship or two that you go, yes, I know that feeling, Yeah, no, I hope that in a nice way that it makes kids think about their friendships, and or at least subconsciously has an effect.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with me.
Thank you.
Huge
Appreciate it.
congratulations. Really love the film.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for that.
Thank you.